Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya by myself. Everyone all together, follow. Jaya Radhe. Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Shamukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya 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 Mahavan Kalindi Jamuna Jaya Jaya Mahavan Jaya Jaya Mahavan Vrindavana Jaya Vrindavan Bolo Bolo Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavan. Radhe, Krishna, Vrindavana. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavana, Jaya Vrindavana, Radhe Krishna, Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohan, Shri Govinda, Shamukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan, Radhakunda Giri Govardhan, Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan, Bolo Bolo, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Jaya Vrindavan, Go Premanandi, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shiva Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki, Shri Premdata Nityananda Prabhu ki, Shri Prem Purushottam Sachinandana Gaurahari ki, Bolo Giriraj Maharaj ki, Shri Radhakund Shamakund Giri Govardhana ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadvitam ki, Shri Purushottam Ketra Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi Tosi Maharani ki, Shri Shri Radha Lalita Vishaka Gopinath Ju ki, Shri Madhurja Rasa Ganaiti Murti Mahabhav Prakash Jagannath Swami ki, Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Shri Mati Subhadra Mai Sudarshan Ju ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu ki, Sankirtan Yagya ki, Bolo Giriraj Maharaj ki, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ju ki, Shri Kartik Mas Mahamahotsava ki, Gaur Premanande Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Goradraganya Ganagotra Goladuharam Gauranga Gudatama Gopyada Kolpa Briksham Gopala Gada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshikavadam Satatam Namami Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Jachia Dileka Kola Kahe Premananda Himona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Gola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyama Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Yeshayva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Bidana Parama Pumata Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jodi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitva Rishi Ustad Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahimam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we still have a problem today. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswamis very beautifully described our situation. Durga me pati me dasya that Durga Me Pati, I have a very difficult path. What is my path? I've come here to this place where I don't know so many people, only a few. And I have to try to speak something about Krishna. And not only am I not a devotee, but I'm a great demon. How can I speak something? So Durga Me Pata. This path is a very difficult path. And not only is it difficult, but Mendasha, Undasha, I'm blind. You're trying to walk through the mountains and there's cliffs on either side of you with drop-offs for thousands of feet down and you can't see. What do I do? And not only that, Skalat, Pada Gatir Muhu. Muhu means again and again. Skalat Pada means that my feet are slipping. I'm in this path. Jai Shri Radha Gopinath. In the great mountains, a very difficult path. I can't see, and my feet are slipping again and again. So this is where all of you come in. He says it's Svakripa Yasni Dhanena. Dana means to give. Please give me. Svakripa Yasti. Yasti is a very good word. Yasti means a cane or a stick to walk. But yasti, amongst the different meanings in Sanskrit, another meaning of the word yasti is a cane of sugar cane, sugar candy. So Svakripa Yasti Dhanena. Please give me this stick. Santasat Avalambanam, the stick of your mercy. Svakripa Yasti. And this stick has different meanings also. It's a stick I'm using to walk with, but it's also a stick that you can use to chastise me and beat me. Because we're just an animal. An animal can only learn one way, if you give him a good whack. So Kripa Yasti Dhanena, please give me this stick of your mercy that I can walk. Santasat Avalambana, because the mercy of the devotees, Avalambana, this is our only support that we have. So today and tomorrow, I'd like to speak a little to you, just a few drops from the ocean of nectar of the pastimes of Krishna. In particular, his Steya Yoga. We want to speak something about yoga. Devotees like yoga. They always have classes on yoga. And Prabhuji's a famous yoga teacher. I saw his picture on the poster. You should charge them money for that picture, you know. But different people practice different types of yoga. But this is a yoga that Krishna practices. What is the yoga that he practices? Steya yoga. Steya means to steal. He practices a yoga of theft. It's very amazing. This is described in the 8th chapter of the 10th canto, text 29. We're going to read this along with Srila Prabhupada's purport. Vatsan munchan fachit asamaye kosha sanjata hasan steyam svad atyata dadipaya kopitai steya yogai markan bokshan vibhavat vibhajati sachinati bandhan binati dravya labhe sagriha kupito yatyupakroshyatokan. This is a verse. Different people in different places, they offer prayers to God. In every temple, in every church, in every synagogue in the world, people are bowing down and offering prayers to God. But in Vrindavan, they complain about him. They're not offering prayers. And what are they saying? Our dear friend Yashoda, this is the elderly gopi speaking, your son sometimes comes to our houses before the milking of the cows and releases the calves. That's very bad. Because, the calves, when you begin to milk a cow, you bring the calf nearby. Because then the cow begins to lactate. My baby's here. And different places they do different ways. Sometimes they allow the calf to drink a little from the mother. But then they tie the calf up nearby so the calf can't get there. And the calf is very, very eager to get to the milk of his mother. And then they milk. Sometimes they take maybe 2 udders for themselves and they leave the other 2 udders for the baby calf. But Krishna would come and untie the calves. So they're trying to milk the cow and the calf is coming, knocking him with the head, and it's very, very disturbing. And Krishna is laughing. And when the master of the house becomes angry, your son merely smiles. He looks very cute. And packed in with that, and we'll hear some story if we have time. We've translated a few chapters 22, 23, and 24 from the Adi Purana, which to my knowledge have never been translated before. We printed in our Bindu magazine, and it speaks something about Krishna's pastimes like this. We'll see. So, when the master of the house becomes angry, Yashoda, your son merely smiles. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals palatable yogurt, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks. When the monkeys assemble, he divides it with them. And when the monkeys have their bellies so full that they won't take more, he breaks the pots. Sometimes, if he gets no opportunity to steal butter or milk from a house, he will be angry at the householders, and for his revenge, he'll agitate the small children by pinching them. Now, for anyone who has a child, you know, when the baby is sleeping, that's sacred. Because the mother, we have a friend, Bhaktarupa's wife, he had something to do with it too, but she gave birth to twins. And when you have a baby and you go to sleep, finally the baby goes to sleep, you go to sleep, and then after half an hour, the baby wakes up and is crying and wants to drink milk from the mother. So she'd wake up and feed the baby, and the baby would go to sleep, and she would go back to sleep. Then as soon as she'd go back to sleep, the other baby would wake up. And she was like a 24-hour feeding station. Very, very difficult thing. So when the babies sleep, it's a very sacred thing. Krishna, he would go and he would pinch those babies when they're asleep. Poor mothers, the babies start crying and the mother would come running. Then when the children began crying, the gopis said, Krishna will go away. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, this is some of Srila Prabhupada's last purports. Prabhupada translated his purports, gave his purports all the way up to the 13th chapter. This is the 8th chapter. The narration of Krishna's naughty childhood activities would be presented to Mother Yashoda in the form of complaints. Sometimes Krishna would enter the house of a neighbor, and if he found no one there, he would release the calves before the time for the cows to be milked. The calves are actually supposed to be released when their mothers are milked, but Krishna would release them before that time, and naturally the calves would drink all the milk from their mothers. When the cowherd men saw this, they would chase Krishna and try to catch him, saying, "Here's Krishna doing mischief." But Krishna would flee and enter another house, where he would again devise some means to steal butter and yogurt. Then the cowherd men would again try to capture him, saying, "Here's a butter thief. Better capture him." And they would be angry. But Krishna would simply smile. And they would forget everything. Sometimes in their presence, he would begin eating the yogurt and butter. There was no need for Krishna to eat butter, since his belly was always full. But he would try to eat it, or else he would break the pots and distribute the contents to the monkeys. In this way, Krishna was always engaged in mischief making. If in any house he could not find any butter or yogurt to steal, he would go into a room and agitate the small children sleeping there by pinching them, and when they cried, he would go away. Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, gives a verse describing 18 faults in a conditioned soul. Mohastandra brahmo ruksha rasata kama obanaha lolata madamatsarye hinsakeda parishramo asatyam kroda akanksha asanka vishvavibramaha vishvamatvam parapeksha dosha astada soditaha. These are mentioned in the Vishnu Yamala. Moha is the first. When someone is mad and they're deluded, tundra, they're exhausted, sleepy, they're tired. Brahma means when someone makes some mistake, some error, they're confused. Ruksha rasata means very rough, exploitive dealings. And kama ulbana means intense, terrible lust. Lolata means to be fickle or restless. Mada means intoxication and pride. We were speaking about that word the other day in connection with Indra. Matsarja means envy or jealousy. Hingsa means violence. Keda means to be depressed. Parishram means to be tired, working very hard. Asatya means to lie. Krodha means to be angry. Akanksha means to be hungry or hankering. Asanka means to have doubt. Vishvavibrama means literally universal folly. It means that somebody's absorbed in worldly things. Vishamatva means to be partial or prejudiced. And parapeksha means dependence on others. So this is us. This is our 18 qualities that we have. But paradoxically, 16 of these qualities, not 18, but 16 of these qualities are possessed by Krishna. And paradoxically, it's those 16 qualities, those 16 faults, which make him greater than God. Because Vishnu doesn't have these qualities. He's perfect in all ways. But Krishna gets angry. He tells lies. He's very restless. He gets hungry. He gets angry. The only two qualities that Krishna doesn't have, it's very significant, are ruksha rasata, meaning very rough, angry dealings. Krishna's not like that. And kama obana. Kama obana means very, very intense lust. Krishna also doesn't have that. Sometimes we give some seminar about these 16 different qualities. We're not going to do that. It would take, it's a whole other subject matter. But we want to speak a little something about yoga. As we mentioned, most people, they practice hatha yoga for health. And devotees now in different places are finding it a good way to preach. Srila Prabhupada did something similar in America. When he first started, he was teaching Sanskrit, which really is nothing exactly about bhakti, but he used that as a tool to bring people in. And there's a phrase in America called bait and switch, which is a very low-class practice in business. You bait someone with something, and then when they come to take the thing, then you switch. Actually, our real business is this. So sometimes devotees do that. They say, come and we'll teach you about yoga, or we'll teach you about astrology, we'll teach you about Vastu, or this or that. And then the people come, I'll say, I'm very interested in that. And they said, actually, we're here to talk to you about becoming a Hare Krishna devotee. You should seriously consider shaving your head and moving into the temple. And then sometimes the people, they're afraid. But I see in the Bhakti Center in New York and other places, like here also, they're having yoga classes, but there's no bait and switch. It's Hare Krishna devotees who are doing it. And so when people come, they know this is the Hare Krishna. In the Bhakti Center in New York, it's very beautiful how they preach there. They don't preach. They just make friends with people. And they teach them yoga. And they're good yoga teachers too. They train them to be yoga teachers. When they make good friends with someone, they say, hey, we have this special program on Thursday nights. It's a kirtan jam. Why don't you come? And they go into some of the best, most amazing kirtan in ISKCON. And people are very, very astonished. So that's his system. So Krishna himself practiced yoga. The word yoga, we know, comes from the Bij Dhatu yuj, which means to join or to yoke. We have that word in English, to yoke. You yoke a bull to the plow. Means to unite. So yoga is a way that we unite with God. But what many people don't know is Steya yoga is Krishna's way to unite with his devotees. So, Steya means to steal. And Krishna is famous as Chur Agraganya. If we have a little time one of these days. Hey, Ramananda. Honestly. 5 more minutes?
No.
Good. 9 o'clock. Yes? Okay, I'll try. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the nature of Krishna in his Govinda Lilamrita in a very beautiful way. Gokulayar Gokulam Ninye, Gokulam Gokulayar Haran, Gokulam Gokula Strinam Gokulayar Gokuleshvaraha. The Lord of Gokul drove his cows, Gokula. As he entered Gokul, stealing the senses, Gokul, of the young girls of Gokul, and the eyes of the people of Gokul. So, just as a yoke connects the bull or the ox to the plow, so also yoga is two-directional. The yoke is also two-directional. It's two entities connected together. The plow, two things, the plow and the ox. So in this type of yoga, Krishna connects with his devotees, but yoga he connects, but he also becomes bound up by those devotees. The Lord tells Prahlad Maharaj in Hari Bhakti Sudodoya, Sada mukto pi badhosmi bhaktena sneha rajobi. He said, you know who I am. Sada mukto pi. I deliver everyone. I'm always liberated, and I'm famous as Mukunda. I give liberation to everyone. But bhaktena badhosmi, bhaktena sneha rajobi, I become bound up, tied up with the ropes of my devotees. Ajito pi jitolaham taigavaso pi visikritam. And although I'm a jita, no one can conquer me, still I become conquered by those devotees. So this is the glory of Krishna. We want to sing a little bit this morning too. Let's see here. There's a friend of ours, Madhavananda Prabhu. He translated this into poetry. I'd like to read a little poetry if you'll tolerate me. I bow to the eternal joy divine, the Almighty who in Gokul doth shine, with glistening pendants hung upon each ear, who fled the grinding mortar in great fear. Of Yashoda, who ran for him too fast, the cowherdess in swiftness him surpassed, and seized upon him from behind at last. So, generally I like to try to speak things for devotees which are relevant. And we may ask, how is this relevant? That God's afraid of his mother and God is running. But it's very relevant. We should understand something about the position of Krishna. And just as a door can be an entrance through which we can enter into another realm, this month of Kartik is also a wonderful door into the land of Vrindavan, the land of Sudha Bhakti. And opening that door, we can hear something about Nanda Nandan, Yashoda Nandan, Krishna, and his behavior. So I'd like to just tell you one or two stories. This is called Dadi Shteya Varna. And it comes from the Garga Samhita. That Nanda Maharaj, we mentioned the other day, his older brother is Upananda. Now the wife of Upananda, her name is Prabhavati, or Prabhavati Gopi. And one day Prabhavati, just as we're hearing in this verse from the Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada's purports, Prabhavati one day came to Mother Yashoda to complain. Whereas everyone else is offering their prayers, this is the business of the gopis. They go and they complain. We can't imitate that. Although sometimes we also try to complain about the GBC or the temple president or this or that, but it's not the same thing. So she came to Mother Yashoda and she said, "Oh Yashoda, for the two of us, between you and I, there's no separate property. We're so close in terms of butter and ghee and yogurt. There's no difference. By your kindness, whatever's yours is also mine, and whatever we have is also yours." Now, I don't say that you're trying to teach him to steal. I'm not saying that. I know you didn't teach him like this, but I have to tell you that your son, your Gopal, he steals butter from our house on our own. And when I try to give him some good instruction, say, "I'm your auntie, you should listen to me," then what does he do? Your arrogant son, he makes faces at me. And he runs away. He's the son of the king of Braj. We don't expect this from him. He shouldn't steal. Yashoda, she said, there's some other things too I should probably tell you, but out of respect for you, I'm not going to say it right now. He's done some very, very bad things. So then, Mother Yashoda, when she heard these words of Prabhavati Gopi, Mother Yashoda is very dear to all the ladies of Vrindavan, as we mentioned the other day. When she was wanting to conceive a child, all the ladies of Vrindavan gave up wearing ornaments until they heard Mother Yashoda was pregnant. That's support. That's freedom from envy. So Mother Yashoda, she said, "Prabhavati, we have over 10 million cows." She has a lot more than that. Maybe we'll speak about that another day. "I have over 10 million cows. We have so much yogurt and butter in our house, I can practically hardly move. I don't know why my little boy goes and drinks yogurt from your house. But if he does that, then you bring this yogurt thief to me. There's no difference between your son and my son. So if you catch him, you bring that thief here with butter on his mouth, and I'll teach him a lesson. I'll scold him and I'll tie him up." So when Prabhavati heard that, she was very happy. She went home. A few days went by, and Krishna, very carefully, very quietly, entered into the house of Prabhavati Gopi to steal yogurt and butter. And one by one, Krishna and his friends, they scaled the outer wall, and they entered into the courtyard, and they saw that Prabhavati had hung the butter pot from a rope very close to a very high ceiling like this, and the boys are just very small boys. How are they going to get to that? So they took some different things, mortars and different things, and piled them on top of each other. And then the boys climbed on top of each other's shoulders, but still they couldn't reach the jar. So finally, Sridham and Subal took some sticks, whack, and they hit the pot. And the pot broke, and the butter began to flow out of the pot. And then Krishna and Subal and some of the boys, they began to eat that butter. And at that time, some monkeys showed up. My grandma's explained once that, I think it was here in 1994 when I was here with him. He spoke about this lila something. I remember coming here with him. That why does Krishna feed the monkeys? And he explains, some acharyas have commented, that because those monkeys in their previous life, they were servants of Lord Ramachandra. But they had a very hard life. They were in an army. You have to feed the army. But the army is marching and going through different forests, and there was no good food to feed them, so those poor monkeys were very hungry. And the same Lord Ramachandra, in his original form as Krishna, remembered their hard work, so he calls them, now, let me feed you. And he was giving them butter. And so this scene is there. The boys had come in, and they broke that pot. The broken pot, parts of it were still hanging from the rope. And the other parts were on the floor, and the butter was spilled all over. And Krishna and his friends were having a party. And they were eating that butter and feeding it to the monkeys. When that pot of yogurt, that pot of butter broke, Prabhavati Gopi heard it. And she came running into the room. When the boys saw her, they all ran away. And they left Krishna. And Prabhavati Gopi grabbed Krishna by the hand. And Krishna began crying and looking at her. She said, show mercy to me. This is Krishna's trick that he does with the gopis. It looks very, very cute, and they forget all about their anger. But Prabhavati Gopi was fed up. Look, I've seen your cute face. Don't show that to me again. I know you, you thief. And so she grabbed Krishna by the wrist and she took him to Mother Yashoda. Now, as she's on her way to Nandagaon, to the house of Mother Yashoda, she saw Nanda Maharaj from a distance, and she becomes very nervous around Nanda Maharaj. She's a very shy lady, and she thinks, I'm going to get in trouble. He's going to be angry with me. I've got his little boy by my hand, and he's crying. So Prabhavati Gopi took her cloth and she put it over the head of Krishna so that Nanda Maharaj couldn't see that she had his son there. And she didn't know, but Krishna was thinking to himself, now I'm really in big trouble. Mata's going to hit me with a stick. She's going to chastise me. And so the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who Nanda Rupam, he has unlimited forms. He changed his form and adopted the form of Prabhavati Gopi's son. But the cloth is over his head. And when Prabhavati came there, she said that Yashoda, I've caught the butter thief. I've caught your boy. You told me I should bring him. Here he is, and you should chastise him. But then she took the cloth off of Krishna's head, and Mother Yashoda saw. And Prabhavati wasn't looking. She was looking at Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda said, Prabhavati, if my son does something bad, you should bring him and I'll chastise him. But if your son does something bad, then you should chastise him. Why don't you bring? And then everybody started laughing. And Prabhavati Gopi became very nervous. And she looked at Krishna, and Krishna was gone. And there was her son. And everybody's laughing, and they all said, today, and Balaram was saying, we've seen a great injustice in Braj. And Prabhavati Gopi, this poor lady, she just became completely confused, and she had still hold hold of Krishna's hand. And she started going back to her house, very embarrassed and ashamed. Halfway back to the house, Krishna changed his form back to his original form, as Bala Gopal, Nandanandan Krishna. And Krishna looked up at her and he said, see, this is what happens when you try to chastise me. He said, if you do this again, next time I'll take the form of your husband. And then you'll really be embarrassed. And so there's many stories like this, how Krishna embarrasses the gopis in so many different ways. This is the nature of Braj. In other places, when we offer bhoga to the Lord, we make offerings in different churches and temples and synagogues and mosques. People make offerings to the Lord all over the world. And it's a common thing, even in different traditions, to offer some foodstuffs to the Lord. And they have a special plate. You have a special plate for Radha Gopinath. You have a special plate, and there's mantras, and maybe they do some mudras over the plate, and they sprinkle some water. There's some rituals and things they do, and they ring a bell. But in Braj, they don't do that. The gopis were very disturbed by Krishna stealing, and they tried different techniques to avoid or to keep Krishna from being able to get to their butter and milk products. And as we mentioned, sometimes they tied it up very high in the ceiling, and those houses had very high ceilings. This is an old building. These old buildings, the ceilings are very high, and in Braj they had very high ceilings. So one such gopi had taken the butter and tied it with a rope and pulled the rope up to the top. But they'd experienced previously that Krishna would just grab the rope and lower it down. So this gopi was very intelligent. And she put a burglar alarm, or you can say a Krishna alarm, on the rope. She wound bells on the rope, so that if the rope started lowering, the bells would ring, and Krishna would be caught. So Krishna came in with his friends very eager to take those butter products, because Krishna is not, as he waits everywhere else, and people offer mantras and things, but in Braj, Krishna is so eager for the love of the gopis. Milk is personified love. Milk is consciousness. Milk is the personified love of the mother for the child. And that's why many people become vegan. I'm not a vegan, but many people become that way, because when you take the baby calf away from the mother, then that milk is consciousness, and it becomes anxiety. The mother feels so much stress. What's happened to my baby? Are they going to kill him? And she's so much in anxiety. And so that stress and anxiety comes into the milk. So milk is love. And the essence of milk is yogurt. And then when you churn that yogurt, it becomes makhan, or butter. It's the essence of it. So those gopis, when they're churning the yogurt, they're always thinking of Nandanandan Krishna, Yashodanandan Krishna Gopal. If only Gopal would come to my house today. He's so cute. If he would come to my house and take some of my butter, then everything would be perfect. And Krishna, who is Antaryami, who's Sarvagya, who knows everything, understood the heart of those gopis, and he came there to take that without even being invited. So he came to the house of this particular gopi who put bells on the rope, and Krishna came in and said, oh, he told his friends, this gopi is very intelligent. Now Sanatana Goswami in his Digdarshani Tika on Damodarashtakam explains that in Braj everything has consciousness, and that the milk was in the pot, was thinking to itself, what is the use of our life? Krishna is going to drink from the breast of Yashoda. So there's no meaning to our life, better we kill ourselves. And so the milk began to jump out of the pot, to jump into the fire, to kill itself. And Yashoda then came running, because for Yashoda, service to Krishna is all important. And she stopped that milk from boiling over. So everything in Braj has consciousness. So when Krishna came in, And he saw the pot of yogurt very high and the rope with the bells on it. Krishna spoke to the bells. He said, dear brother bells, please be quiet. The bells said, okay. And then Krishna took the rope and started lowering it, and the bells were very quiet. And he lowered the pot down, and then Krishna and his friends all gathered around the pot very excitedly with a group of monkeys around the edges. And they all began to dip in, and Krishna started to eat. As soon as Krishna started to eat the butter, all the bells started ringing very loud. And the gopi came running in, ha! Ah, we've caught you. And Krishna looked at the bells, brother bells, you betrayed me. Why did you do that? And the bells replied, it's not my fault. Everyone knows when you offer bhoga to Govinda, you ring the bell. But in Braj, they don't ring the bells generally. Krishna just comes very, very eagerly. So we have a number of different stories we want to share with you. Also from a book we were working on. I just want to introduce this for tomorrow. There's a devotee named Dukhi Shamdas. Dukhi Shamdas is also known as Dukhi Sham. Wrote a very beautiful book called Govinda Mangal. It's a Bengali book. He wrote this. He lived in the mid-late 1500s. He was a disciple, direct disciple of Shyamananda Prabhu, the famous devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And his Govinda Mangal, he's given different poetic meters for different stories, which he tells about the pastimes of Krishna from the 10th canto, from the Bhagavatam, and also from Brahma Vivarta Purana, Padma Purana, Srila Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta Deepika, etc. And he's put it in his own Bengali paya. Paya means a kind of verse form. And tomorrow maybe we'll sing a few verses from that and explain something. But I want to stop now because we promised we'd finish. Don't blame me, it's his fault. But I'm going to take another minute. If anybody has any comments or reflections, Tattva Prabhu, if you'd like to say anything. Okay, thank you. Tattva Prabhu is our BBT editor. He's also our editor sometimes. He gives us some instructions. I saw a cartoon once that there was a pencil having lunch in a restaurant, and the pencil was on the phone. He said, I'm sorry I can't talk to you right now. I'm having lunch with my editor. He's a pencil, right? He's a writer. And then you see the editor next to the pencil, and who's the editor? It's the eraser. That's the work. The writer writes, and the editor comes and marks it out. Anybody have any reflections or comments about today's subject? I'm sorry we're beginning it so late with so many pastimes from so many different literatures we'd like to share this. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, sir?
I have two questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
First question I wanted to ask is, you mentioned that Krishna is stealing the butter because he wants to taste the love of the gopis, and milk is love personified. So I'm wondering then, why is Krishna untying the calves? What is the reason for that?
Why does Krishna untie the calves? I haven't seen an exact comment on that, but Anvayavete Rekabhyam Yat Shat Sarvata Sarvada, the Bhagavatam 2nd canto describes that we can understand everything directly and indirectly. So let's look at it through that lens, if we can. And no doubt Krishna has unlimited different purposes, because Prati Shloki, Prati Akshari, Nanartha Koi, every verse, every syllable of the Bhagavatam has unlimited meaning. But Krishna is very affectionate to those calves, so he wants to untie them, and he wants to let them eat. And Krishna is also being very mischievous. And why is he being mischievous? Sometimes you're mischievous, I think. We can ask your mother. All boys, they like to be mischievous. And even when they grow up, ladies who are married, they can agree, I can understand, isn't it? They never actually really grew up. They're also mischievous. Mataji, yes? Yeah, she agrees. Men never really grew up. They're always little boys. And they get some pleasure being rascals. There was a television show when I was growing up, Tattva Prabhu, you may remember, called Little Rascals. And it was a group of boys, kind of the perverted reflection of Krishna and his gang. who will go about doing different rascal things. So Krishna gets some pleasure doing those things, but not in the same way that we do. Krishna gets pleasure being like that. And Prabhupada in one talk with Bob Cohen in Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, he says that Krishna is such a rascal. He's the ultimate rascal. He's the best of all rascals. He's the biggest rascal. Krishna comes to do things like this, not just for himself, but because it brings pleasure to his devotees. And it brings a smile to them. What a rascal he is. My gosh, do you know what the son of Nanda Maharaj did today? And the gopis, they all come together and they talk about it. And they experience great ecstasy thinking about Krishna's pastimes. So, those are some reasons. Maybe others too, I'm sure. You have another question?
Yes, the second question. Well, Krishna has these 16 of the 18 undesirable qualities.
Yes, faults.
Faults, yes. But you also mentioned this one quality, you said universal folly?
Our acharyas, they've commented on this. Jiva Goswami speaks in his commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about this. And this is also quoted this verse is quoted by Baladev Vidyabhushan and his commentary on Vishnu Sahasranam. It's also quoted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Jaiva Dharma. And they explain in different ways. And Vishwavibrama, they explain that universal folly, literally Vishwavibrama, universal folly means that you're absorbed in this world. It means literally universal folly. And Krishna's universal folly is that he thinks he's the creator of everything. But actually, he's just a little boy. That's his primary identity. He's the son of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda. And this other thing, he also, but sometimes he thinks, yes, I'm very important. I'm Vishwabam. He has this attitude. And they describe that as a kind of fault. And sometimes the gopis, by Gargamuni's mercy, Gargamuni sometimes tells them something about Krishna. And so they hear, Krishna, he's Bhagavan. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it in a very beautiful way. He says that just like if you get milk in the village, and I've seen this to this day, they have the people who bring the milk, the gwalas, they'll have two containers on either side, one on either side of their bicycle, and to keep the milk from spilling out as they're riding on the bumpy roads, they put straw on top of the milk. And then they go to different people's houses to give them the milk. Now when they give you that milk, they take the straw off, but some little pieces of straw end up in the milk. And when you boil that milk, that's the first thing you should do with that fresh milk. When you start boiling it, sometimes that piece of straw comes to the top and you can see it. Sometimes it goes to the bottom and you can't see it. And Vishwanath gives this example to explain the attitude of the Brijbasis, that sometimes they're aware that Krishna's Bhagavan, that he's got, and the straw comes to the top. And other times they're not aware. And by the potency of Yoga Maya, they're completely bewildered. And Krishna himself is bewildered. Is that okay? Anybody else with anything before we stop, Dorothea?
In connection with the previous question, so this gopi who had caught Krishna by the arm, after Krishna displays his Aishwarya and says, next time I turn into your husband or something, then does she keep knowing that, or does she forget about that?
Does Krishna remember her words, or does he forget about it?
No, does she remember his words later also, like his Aishwarya, or does she forget about his Aishwarya?
They remember Krishna's rascaldom, as Prabhupada called it. They may remember, oh my God, he turned into my son last time, but the eye, when we see something, we have a certain vision. And generally we have jnana chakshush, or the eye of knowledge. But Nanda Maharaj and the Brijbasis, they're prem anda. They're blind. they can't see with the eye of knowledge, Gyananjana Shalakaya, they can't see with that thing. Rather, they're blind. So even if they see something, they don't see it. So she sees Krishna turning into her son, and she remembers that, and she's terrified by that. But it doesn't really occur to her how extraordinary that is. Exactly, and this is the activity of God. She just thinks he's such a rascal. My God, he did that. He took the form of my son. Oh, I was so embarrassed. Yoga Maya covers them over like this, and they're not like us. It's not that they're ignorant. Their premanda is not ignorance like ignorance in this material world. They know the essence of all Shastra and Siddhanta, but they sometimes don't see some of that because they're just blinded by love. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you. And also the babies, when they get pinched by Krishna and they start crying, then do they actually feel happiness because Krishna interacts with them?
Well, let me ask you a question, Dorothy. Would you like it if you're taking rest and one morning you sleep in, it's 4:15, and Krishna comes off the altar, and he goes and pinches you? Would you like that? How would that feel?
I would like it.
You might start crying also, but that crying it's part of the lila also, because they're acting like babies and it brings some pleasure to Krishna. Yes, I'm such a rascal. You can say a pleasure, but in just seeing Krishna, people become ecstatic. What to speak of Krishna touches us, it becomes so ecstatic. So we'd love to be pinched by Krishna. Maybe Gopinath will kind of pinch you some morning and wake you up. And then all the devotees, they'll write about it in the history of Radhadesh. That one day when Bhakti Dorothea, she was sleeping in too late, and Gopinath, we came from Mangalarti, and Gopinath wasn't there. And he was in Dorothea's room, pinching her and waking her up. Hey, maybe that might happen. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything from anybody else? Prabhuji?
We hear a lot about the milk and the yogurt and the butter that's being stolen, and I don't know if we can, would you be able to add some description or something about what, because when we think about yogurt, I guess when it's not sweetened or, it's maybe not as exciting, or butter, like, so, yeah. I know in Vrindavan they give sometimes butter with like sugar lozenges in them. So I don't know, if anything on that more?
Makan and Mishri, that's wonderful. They offer that in many temples to Krishna, especially when they worship him as Bala Gopal. They give him Makan and Mishri. I have a friend born in a very cultured family in Rajasthan, in Jaipur, and he's telling us how every morning his mother used to churn. She'd make yogurt, she'd take the milk from the previous day, and she'd boil it, and then she'd put some culture in it and leave it overnight, so it was yogurt in the morning, and then she'd start churning that in the morning to make butter. And he would wake up in the morning hearing his mother churning the butter, and she would take that butter, because the mothers, they love the little boys in India, and they just really serve them and take care of them. She would take that fresh butter and put some mishri, some sugar candy in it, and put a little bowl by his bed, so when he woke up, first thing, a very, very nice thing. And this is the culture. This is a traditional culture. Then this is what Mother Yashoda used to do with Gopal. Is that okay? Mataji, you should do with your boys. They'll like very much. Or maybe I should tell them about this, huh? Anybody else? Anything? Okay. Okay, thank you all so much for walking with me on this path, this very difficult path, and giving me the stick of your mercy to be able to walk even when I'm a blind person. Srila Prabhupada ke, Sri Bhaktivinoda ke, Gaur Premanandi, Vanchakopadarubhishcha, Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. What's that? Premanda? Hey. Dorothea, voice is doing good.
Yes, she's very, very nice.
Nityananda.
Hopefully, again.
I have a debt, and I'm very nervous about it. So I will give him a lot. And last night I prepared a lot, but I was thinking about it, and I thought it might be that some of the parents will use some shit, so it takes a lot to do some of the what is the root?
When he comes back from school today. Yes, he could. He's here, arrives about
3 months ago.